It was a Monday morning. The kind that brought with it the rush of people, the blare of airport announcements, and the muffled sound of wheels dragging suitcases across marble floors. Among the sea of travelers at Gate C-23 of Atlantic International Airport, stood a young woman named Captain Naomi Sanders, clad in her navy blue pilot uniform with gold stripes gleaming on her shoulders and a calm confidence radiating from her posture. She walked with purpose. Naomi had trained for years, graduated top of her aviation class, and had logged more than 500 flight hours. This was not her first flight, but it was her first as the lead pilot for the prestigious Starfleet Airlines. A dream she had nurtured since she was 12 years old. Yet, as she walked through the automatic doors of the airport terminal that morning, a storm awaited her. Not in the skies, but in the hearts of those who still couldn't see past her skin color. Naomi approached the airline staff desk to report her presence for duty. The two women behind the counter looked up, their eyes scanning her from head to toe. "Excuse me? This area is for airline employees only," said one of them with a forced smile, not bothering to check her badge or ask for her credentials. Naomi calmly replied, "I am the pilot for Flight 782 to London. I need to check in." There was a pause, a moment of disbelief. Then came a condescending laugh. "You? A pilot?" The woman repeated, eyebrows raised. "That can't be right. Employees are not allowed inside the lounge yet. Please wait outside." For a second, Naomi stood frozen. She had expected challenges in her career, but not this. Not in her own workplace. She could feel eyes on her now. Passengers watching the scene unfold. Her cheeks burned, not from embarrassment, but from the silent anger bubbling inside her. She could argue. She could show them her ID. But instead, she stepped back, took out her phone, and made a call. "Captain Naomi Sanders reporting. I've been asked to leave the terminal by your ground staff. Please advise." There was silence on the other end. Then a calm but alarmed voice said, "Wait there. I'm coming down." Naomi stood tall as minutes passed, and whispers grew. Then, the terminal doors opened again. This time, a man in a suit, the director of aviation operations, came rushing toward her. "Captain Sanders, we are deeply sorry," he said, audibly enough for the watching crowd. "There's been a terrible misunderstanding." He turned to the staff who had refused her entry. Their faces turned pale. "Meet your lead pilot for today. She doesn't wait outside. She commands the cockpit." Naomi gave a polite nod, not gloating, not boasting. Just reclaiming her rightful place. But the damage was done. Not to her, but to the reputation of a company that dared judge excellence by the color of skin, rather than the strength of experience. Naomi went on to complete the flight flawlessly, receiving praise from passengers and crew alike. But that moment in the terminal stayed with her, not as a scar, but as fuel. That night, Naomi sat in her hotel room overlooking the glowing lights of London. She opened her laptop and began to write. Not a complaint. Not a rant. But a vision. She began drafting her plan for an inclusive aviation company. A platform where diversity was celebrated, not tolerated. A place where talent, not tone, determined your worth. She had no investors, no guarantees, but she had a story. A powerful story. And that story was going to change everything. Dear viewer, this isn't just Naomi's story. It's a mirror to the world we live in. A world where judgment still walks faster than merit. But also, a world where resilience speaks louder than rejection. If you believe in stories that inspire, voices that challenge the norm, and journeys that prove anything is possible, subscribe now. Because stories like Naomi's are not just to be watched. They're meant to be lived, shared, and passed on. 3 years had passed since the morning Captain Naomi Sanders was told to wait outside. The memory hadn't faded. It had crystallized into purpose. That humiliating moment had planted the seed of an idea that now blossomed into something much greater than a reaction. It was a revolution in motion. Naomi didn't just move on from that day. She launched forward with fire in her soul and a plan in her heart. That night in London had been the turning point. She called it the Sky Project. Her blueprint for building the world's most inclusive, future-forward aviation company. She didn't want just another airline. She wanted to build a culture where no child would grow up thinking they were too female, too black, too poor, or too different to fly. But great dreams ask for great sacrifices. Naomi left her comfortable position at Starfleet Airlines 6 months later, bidding farewell not to her career as a pilot, but to the limits others had placed on her. Most people told her she was crazy. "You're throwing away stability," they said. "Airlines are a billionaire's game," they insisted. But Naomi was no stranger to being underestimated. She sold her car, liquidated her savings, and worked around the clock. She took freelance flying gigs during the night and business meetings during the day. She met with over 200 investors and heard "no" 198 times. But on the 199th meeting, someone finally said, "Let's talk." It was a young angel investor, himself once denied entry into a business school because of his refugee background, who believed in Naomi not just because she was brilliant, but because she was relentless. Within a year, Naomi had launched SkyLift Aviation, a flight academy and small charter airline designed from the ground up to be different. It started with just 2 small aircraft and 4 pilots. She recruited talent from overlooked places, small towns, underfunded schools, communities no one was watching. She didn't see gaps. She saw potential. She personally mentored women and minorities, taught free aviation courses online, and created scholarship programs for aspiring pilots who had the dream but not the resources. Social media caught on. Her videos, where she spoke with calm determination about breaking stereotypes and rising through resistance, went viral. People from all over the world began following her journey. Her story inspired not just pilots, but artists, teachers, engineers, anyone who'd ever been told, "You're not enough." Her face appeared in magazines, but she never chased fame. Her mission was clear: elevate others. But fate had a way of coming full circle. One day, Naomi received an anonymous tip. Starfleet Airlines, the very company where she was once humiliated, had been quietly sued for multiple instances of workplace discrimination and wrongful termination. The case was being kept out of the media, but internally, the company was in chaos. Bad press was brewing. Profits were falling. The public had lost trust. And in a surprising twist, their CEO had stepped down. The board was looking for a radical rebranding. A new face, a new mission, a new beginning. A recruitment firm was hired to find a visionary leader. Several names were shortlisted. And to everyone's shock, the final name forwarded to the board was Naomi Sanders. She laughed when she got the call. "You're joking," she said. "I was told to wait outside. Now you want me to come in and lead." But it wasn't a joke. It was real. She was now recognized as one of the most respected voices in modern aviation and entrepreneurship. And more importantly, she had something money couldn't buy: trust from the public and a track record of real change. Naomi agreed to meet the board. Not for revenge, but for revelation. When she walked into that boardroom wearing the same navy blue uniform that once triggered disbelief, the entire room stood. But Naomi wasn't there to be praised. She came with terms. She said, "I'm not interested in fixing your brand. I'm interested in transforming this industry. I will not work under your name. If I come in, this airline becomes part of SkyLift Aviation. We erase the old name, the old habits, and the old hierarchy. We rebuild. From the cockpit to corporate, you don't get Naomi Sanders the employee. You get Naomi Sanders the architect of change." The room was silent. Then slowly, the heads nodded. Within 6 months, Starfleet was gone. SkyLift Global took its place. Uniforms changed. Hiring policies were overhauled. Bias training became mandatory. A new internal culture was born where inclusivity wasn't a box to tick. It was the DNA of the company. And Naomi, she didn't stop there. She partnered with international airports to open aviation academies in developing countries. She worked with NGOs to get young girls and boys their first taste of the skies. She launched a program called Wings Without Borders that offered free flying lessons to kids from war-torn regions and orphanages. Her influence reached governments and inspired global policy discussions on equal opportunity in elite professions. One evening, while giving a keynote speech at a World Aviation Summit, Naomi told the story of that day, of the time she was asked to wait outside. But this time, she said it with a smile. Sometimes, she said, they ask you to wait outside because they've never seen someone like you walk through the door. They don't understand that you're not there to fit in. You're there to build a whole new entrance. For yourself, and for others who will follow. The crowd erupted in applause, not for a hero, but for a leader. She had shut down a broken system. Not with anger, but with action. Not with ego, but with excellence. So to everyone watching this video right now, remember this. The world may try to tell you where you belong. They may ask you to wait outside. But only you get to decide how far you go. You don't need permission to rise. You need belief, grit, and the courage to keep showing up. Until the door opens. Or until you build your own. Naomi did not wait for validation. She became the validation. She didn't ask for a seat at the table. She built her own damn runway. If her story moved you, if it lit even a single spark inside you, then don't let it fade. Subscribe to this channel for more stories that break barriers and build belief. Because you're not just a viewer. You're a dreamer. A doer. A sky chaser. And just like Naomi, your story deserves to be heard. Let's take flight. Together.